happy Friday. We are back to have a fun conversation to forget about our other troubles and other things going on, just talk about fun stuff. So today I have a couple of friends, so I'll let them introduce themselves and we'll go from there. Jolene, you want to kick us off?
Hi everyone, I am Jolien. I am a fellow booktuber. I also have a small booktube channel, Jolien Reads. I like to read a lot of fantasy, mostly, even though I'm in a little bit of a reading slump right now. And yeah, I just thank you, Steve, for always inviting me. It's just a fun time to connect with the community a little bit more.
Yeah, hi, I'm Johanna, and I also like to read a lot of fantasy and some other genres as well, but mostly fantasy. Excited to chat again.
Yeah. So Jolene, you're in a reading slump. How do you get out of reading slumps?
Well, I just decided to read something completely different than what I was reading because I call it a reading slump just because everybody knows what that is. But my problem was that I was just very busy with other stuff. And then when I was reading very big books like Memories of Ice, Malazan, Steven Erikson, and then Cashil's Chosen, which is also pretty dense with a lot of political intrigue, it was just too much and I couldn't really keep track. I couldn't really give it the time that it deserved. So I decided to just switch it up and read a fairy tale. And this is something that I have enough brain space for at the moment. And that helps so far.
Yeah.
What about you, Johanna? How do you get over? Oh, I'm sorry. Introduce yourself. I'm sorry. I interrupted. Oh no, you did
Oh,
introduce. Sorry.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I was getting ahead of
No,
myself.
yeah.
So, how do you get out of reading slumps?
That's a really interesting question. And so, Yolene, I know you're in doctoral school, and I know that is hard because you have to read a lot of, obviously, you have to read a lot of research and you have to
Hmm.
write your own research. And so, oh, Ohio, is that the right word to say? Yeah,
Yes, good morning. Sorry, guys, I'm a few minutes late.
that's all
One of
right.
these mornings I'll get up on time. Was
No
not this morning.
problem.
So so sorry I interrupted. What was going on?
Oh, no, we were just talking about reading slumps. And so I was just
Ah,
kind of, Yolene was telling us that she's in a little bit of a reading slump. She's in doctoral school, so she's having to publish papers and obviously read a lot of research. And at the same time,
mm-mm.
she's reading Malazan Book of the Fallen and the R. Scott Baker series. And so a lot of dense fantasy. And so I guess what you were saying, Yolene, is reading a fairy tale, something lighter, or just switching up the type of fantasy at least was probably your way out.
Yeah, I think changing it up might be good. In that case, it's easier said than done, of course. A reading slump can have so many factors that lead to it. Sometimes, honestly, just taking a break from reading,
Hmm.
believe it or
Yeah.
not, does work. So I'm sorry to hear you're in the middle of a slump, though. I hate when I feel slumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are just so many amazing books that I almost feel bad when I can't get to them. And I want to participate
Mm-hmm.
in all the read alongs because I love these discussions, but then it gets busy at times.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fear of missing out is absolutely real, especially when you make content about it, because you feel like, oh no, if I miss all of my friends reading this, then when am I going to make content about it? That pressure is also there. It's a good pressure, I guess. Like no one means for it to put you in a slumpy mood, but there's always something happening, I
Mhm.
think. So yeah, I decided actually this year to take a break from readathons completely until the Indie Accords next month, Team Dark Knights. But until until that, I was like, I'm just not going to touch readathons this year because there was like 15 every month, and it felt
Mhm.
overwhelming to me. So I took a step back from that personally. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've decided I'm totally done with readathons. As if they're the type of readathon where they're competitive, I might consider the kind that are non-competitive, but I know that every time I've done a competitive readathon, I've only been in two competitive readathons, but both times I was in a major reading slump the next month.
Hmm.
Um, I always keep reading, which I know is not the best advice because I'm somebody who I've been through like years and years of reading slumps before, and so for me, I feel like I have to keep reading every day a little bit, but I might scale it back a lot.
Hmm.
And
And different genres do help.
Alicia commented, "I reread a favorite to get out of a slump."
It's a good one.
Mhm.
Hmm.
that's a good technique too. Yeah. Yeah, I feel honestly, personally, I should reread more. Like I've stopped doing that in the recent years because I have so much pressure. That's another thing with like readathons and stuff. I feel like I have to read the next book. I haven't reread a book in probably over 2 years now, which is insane. Like I used to be much more of a rereader. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while for me as well. And I think that a part of it is also that we're on booktube. I don't even know if anybody outside of booktube knows about reading slumps, because you just read when you want to read, and if you don't want to read, you don't read for a month, and that's fine. But we're no longer on our own island. It's like we're connected with everybody, so we see what everybody else is reading, and it's, even if it's not a real competition, sometimes it feels like that. Like they're reading so much, they're reading all of these amazing books, and I want to jump on that bandwagon a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I've seen kind of some different conversations regarding reading slumps on BookTube, and I've seen this idea that like if you're in a reading slump, then the idea is that you want to build momentum to get through the end of books as quickly as possible to keep this momentum going. There's this whole momentum idea. And for me, what I've been noticing about myself, and everybody's different, but I've noticed that more reading does not necessarily make me feel more motivated to read. Like if I read a bunch of books, I actually feel like I need to like slow down my pace of reading. Then if I read fewer books, it actually motivates me to keep going more. And that's so opposite of what our booktube culture, I feel like, kind of promotes. It's like get more fun, read as much as possible.
There's been times when we're trying to finish our books on time or whatever, and then you finish the book and you're like, I forgot what happened, or you just it doesn't sink in. Hannah Blackwell has a comment, and Hannah just started a booktube channel, so everyone go check that out.
oh, welcome.
She commented, "Yeah, not for everyone, but I love to read fantasy romance smut when I'm slumping."
That's
Good
the
choice.
ticket. That's a really good choice. Yep. Yep. Something that reads quicker is always a nice technique to use. There was something I wanted to say based on what Johanna just said, and it just literally is gone. It'll come back, I'm sure. Oh, reading speed. That's it. Yeah. So I'm having a really interesting time being a SPIFBO judge this year because, every team handles the way that they do reviews differently within the team. So for Before We Go blog, we're doing individual reviews for all of the books and deciding whether they're going to move on to like the next step or not, and publishing those as we go along. Some teams don't publish their reviews yet and then announce everything all at once, but we're doing them as we go along. So it's interesting seeing other people's pace. How quickly they're getting through their first couple. So that's been, I realized I'm not as fast of a reader as I thought because what other people can get through is incredible. And I mean that in the best way possible. Like I have just so much respect for people who can get through their books that quickly. So it's been an interesting experiment for me being a judge this year and balancing that with what I want to read personally this month. I have a couple books that are on my TBR every month. If you watch my channel, you probably know what those are. They're going to be there again next month. Spoiler alert, because I'm not getting to them. So, pretty infamous one is Moby Dick on my channel. I have been trying to read that a little bit every month. For the last couple of months, it's not happening.
Wow. Wow, that's a heavy duty book too.
Yeah, so I have a TBR jar that has all of my physical books in it. And the first month I pulled Moby Dick and the short collected stories of William Faulkner. And I was like, really? All of this fantasy, all of this. And this is what I pick in January. So I'm still working on those. Yeah.
I'm super jealous of people who are fast readers. I always talk about that here on Steve's channel. For some reason, my slow reading speed always seems to be a topic, but it's true. I am so slow, and I wish I could read faster. Definitely a skill I wish I had.
I can relate. I think I'm probably on the. I've never taken a test or anything, but I think I'm probably on the slower side. So I try to allot more time to read, and I try to just allow myself more time so I don't feel like I have an hour, I have to get through X amount of pages. I just say, okay, what I get through is what I get through. If it's more or less or whatever, it's fine. I'll just go with whatever happens. But
Mhm.
I think short story collections and novellas really help me whenever I'm feeling slumpy. You get that satisfaction of I just read this novella in one sitting, like Death Rider. Taylor and I and the Avengers just talked about that one on her channel, and it was a like a one sitting great story, and you get the fulfillment of finishing the story, and then you feel good about like you kind of get some momentum going. You get that runner's high. You feel like you can just like keep going, like Forrest Gump kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I read that in one sitting and I was like, so I'm a reading god now. Is how I felt when I finished it in one setting, because it's been a while since I've done that. That's also something I've noticed too on that topic, a difference between when I was younger and now. I'm sure it comes with the level of responsibility that I have and things that I have to do, but sitting down and binge reading a series or something like that, I haven't done that in a really long time, because I used to sit down and read even 2 books, at once. Now, granted, it was a different type of book, I'm sure, but I would just disappear into the world for a weekend or whatever. I haven't been able to do that in years. Yeah. Have you guys binged series at all in recent years?
No.
I feel like booktube has really changed that for me too. And last year I was reading Moaz and Book of the Fallen, and I realized I just couldn't. I had to just prioritize it because I was in too many series, and I really felt like it was important for me to get through the series to prioritize that. So I did read the last 3 books back to back, I think, but that's very unusual for me in recent years. And that paid off for me in that series. But then there are other series where I just feel like I don't know why. I feel like some kind of block with doing that. Like the Dark Tower series. I've been really enjoying the Dark Tower series, but for some reason I have some block with wanting to continue and finish that series. And I don't know what it is, because I really enjoyed like the last book. But yeah, it's really strange because I don't think that ever occurred to me before I discovered booktube. Like beforehand, I would always read through an entire series. I would never question stopping in the middle of a series or something. And then once I discovered booktube, I noticed a lot of people were, putting books between books and series, and it just never occurred to me you could do that. And I think I started doing that, and now I'm stuck in the middle of a bunch of series.
I can relate, yes. But it's funny, yeah. Because I
was going to
actually
say, Jolien, you have a video about that, right? About being
Yes.
in the middle of series, yeah.
And it's stressful at times. But it's actually funny because when I first started watching booktube, I also didn't realize that you could do that, but it also didn't really seem smart to me. I was thinking, why are all these people like starting a bunch of series and not just reading one, finishing one, and then continuing? That's like the smart thing to do. And now 2 years later, I'm doing the exact same thing. So
Here we are.
yeah.
I do feel like, I don't know, it really depends on the series again, but I do feel like, I know last year when I did that with Moaz and Book of the Fall, and then this year I did kind of put more series back to back. Like I did the Winter Night trilogy within a month, and that felt so good. So I feel like, I don't know, I think I enjoy series more when I read them within a shorter period of time.
Yeah, me too.
What's interesting, I think. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I was just gonna read this comment by Chris. He said most of my slump periods came from a general lack of energy due to work or life. Quitting work would work.
Totally, yes.
For getting out of funk. Yeah,
I can relate.
Go for it. Go for it. Let us know how that works.
Yeah.
I think what I was going to say is also on the note of finishing series, making content has really changed that as well, because you feel like if you're just reading a bunch of sequels in 1 month, then if the people watching your channel haven't read the rest of the books or the first book, or how are they going to engage with your content if you're only talking about sequels to a series other people might not have read? Because then it's full of spoilers and you don't want to do that, so that's really affected, I think, that as well.
Yeah, I think that's hard when you have a longer series too. And I felt that because I was a new channel last year and I was reading Malazan Book of the Fallen and I'm like on book 7, 8, 9. But fortunately there was a fandom there. So I guess that's kind of the nice side is that there are some fandoms of series that can follow along. But yeah, that could be a real challenge for engagement.
Let me read Nathaniel's comment really quick. Don't worry about lacking motivation for recreational reading. There is always another hobby to rotate into. Paint some minis, play board games, go to music jams, go out to sketch. So I did what I just mentioned because I mentioned this in my update last week, but the Malazan community has been really great. I think they've been really supportive and they've been cheering us on. So shout out to them because they've been really, really supportive.
Yeah,
really good.
I agree.
I was so happy you said that. I noticed you said that in your last video, and I definitely had that experience as well. I didn't have a single problem with anybody in the fandom when I was reading through the series.
That's great to hear because it's a lot of, including me, there's like this nebulous idea or view of that fandom as being very gatekeepy. So I'm glad to hear from personal experience that it's not exactly what people probably imagine it to be. It's good.
Yeah, it really surprised me personally.
Yeah.
I know some people have had negative experiences, and I can only speak for myself. But yeah, I've only encountered very supportive, kind people in that community.
And they're almost like pull you along for the ride. Like they trying to help you as you go, and they don't spoil anything. That's another great thing is no one's at least, and I'm sure there's a few knuckleheads out there, but all the people I've interacted with have been really great. So shout out to them.
Because you can be spoiled for those books. There are some big things that happen.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the word knucklehead in a minute. That just made me smile.
I'm trying to be nice.
While I was reading, I'm sorry, I missed that last comment JR said.
You said while I was reading the last book of the Dark Tower. Oh, yeah, they just finished the Dark Tower, followed by Malazan. His brain hurt. Yeah, those are some big books. Yeah. And Planet 628 says audiobooks are great for rereads. Yeah, good point.
I actually reread the Stormlight Archive in preparation for when Rhythm of War came out. I reread that via audio. And I read it physically the first time, and it was a whole new experience doing the audio. They're read by Michael Kramer, so it's fantastic audiobook narrator. He doesn't really need my help. He's one of the top people out there, but it was a really good way to experience it a second time around. Yeah,
really good stuff. And I have noticed too recently that I've been enjoying. I wanted to ask all of you what you thought about this. Is I've really been enjoying almost everything I've been reading. And I wondered if it's because I'm being smarter about what I decide to read, or if I'm less picky somehow or something. So I wondered if any of you have ever experienced that, where it's kind of hit and miss, and then you just hit a period of time where it's just, you just enjoy you don't love everything, but you enjoy everything.
Yeah, I feel the same way. But I think that part of it is, for me at least, that I know what I like and I don't take risks, or I almost don't take risks. Just because there are so many books that I am 90% sure that I will love. So I'm not going to pick one up that I think I might hate or even dislike. Like even a 3 out of 5 stars, I'm not really wanting to have a 3 out of 5 stars. I want to have 4 or 5 star reads. So I think that I just know better what I like. The only times that I have like a hit or miss is when it's a new release and you don't really know a lot about it, but you still want to give it a try. But usually I know who the people are that I can trust. When they post a review and they tell me that they like it or not, I usually listen to them.
Yeah. Who are some people you go to for those reviews, Jolien, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, all of you actually.
Hey.
Chris is somebody that I always listen to, Chris Bookish Cauldron. And the other day, I think on Twitter, he asked for some recommendations and I just couldn't share any. I wanted to help him, but all of the books that I have been reading were because of him. So I was like, I think that you've read everything that I've read and liked. But he's somebody who's read so many fantasy books and also the older releases, like older, before 2000s, that you don't really hear a lot about on BookTube. So I really appreciate when he shines some light onto them.
And he was just commenting on Twitter the other day about how much he's rereading A Song of Ice and Fire and was just gushing and gushing about it. And I got so excited about next year.
Yeah,
for anybody who doesn't know, Jolien and I are going to be rereading A Song of Ice and Fire starting in January. If anybody wants to join us, Steve is going to join us. Yay! I'm so excited. So you're all welcome if you want to. It's a great series. It's amazing.
Yeah. I
Have you read
honestly
it
can't
before,
wait.
Taylor?
No, it was one of those things where it was on the one-day list, and then the show burned us all, and so I was like, I'm not in the right headspace to enjoy this for what it is. Is where I was maybe last year, and then this year I kind of in the same vein of staying away from readathons. I decided this year I wasn't going to read some of the big series, so. I decided I wasn't going to take on Song of Ice and Fire or Malazan or anything this year, but I don't know. I might be open next year. We'll see. We'll see where I am in January.
I'll check in with you.
But
yeah, and I see Derry's in the chat. I'm still finishing up Farseer right now. I'm taking forever reading Assassin's Quest for a lot of reasons, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to resist the temptation to start live ship traders this year. I think I might have to continue. Robin Hobb is just so amazing. So
it only gets better.
I haven't read Assassin's Quest yet either, but that's the book I'm on as well.
Cool.
In that series. So Robin Hobb is interesting for me because her writing is beautiful, her prose is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy her stories after. But during, it feels like a slog for me. And I don't know how to describe that. Like, I enjoy her writing. I enjoy the characters. But while I'm reading it, I feel like, oh my God, how many pages do I have left? But then I finish the book and I'm like, wow, I really enjoyed that. So I don't really know how to categorize how Robin Hobb makes me feel as an author. Yeah. There's so many conflicting emotions there. So, hi, Epic.
Epic.
So I haven't picked up Assassin's Quest yet because I think I've got a mental block there where I feel like it's going to be a slog, even though I think I'm going to like it in the end.
Yeah.
So
they're definitely slow books, and I mean, I think like especially Assassin's Quest, I'm really loving it. There have been times I've audibly gasped so many times, but for me, it's felt very, very, very slow. And that I hate to say that because I don't want to discourage you or anybody, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, it's so true. It's so true. What Derry said there. I think like for me to say that is something because I am the worst when it comes to assessing pace in books. I'll constantly read books and think, oh, that was pretty fast paced. And everybody's like, that was really slow. I'm like, oh, wow. I just like have no concept of reading pace because I don't know. I'm a slow reader. I don't think of things as being slow like everybody else, but I do think of Robin Hobb's books. I do think of these books as being a bit of a slow burn, especially Assassin's Quest so far. That's not a bad thing. I'm still engaged, but I could see how that is not going to work for everyone for that reason, for sure. And I could definitely see what you're saying, in other words.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because I can't articulate it well. So I don't know how you understood what I was saying, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think the thing with the slow, and it depends too, because I don't know, for me, slow, especially with Robin Hobb, slow is not necessarily bad. You know what I mean? It's not boring. It's just, but it's slow. It's hard.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Still be engaged in the story, but it's still perceived as kind of being like a gentle river being carried along. That's how I describe it.
That's a good visual.
Johanna, Epic had a question for you. Do you read faster when you are enjoying a book, or do you intentionally read slower?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm reading fast, and then I check the clock afterwards and thought, oh, wow, I've only read 20 pages. It's been an hour. No, I don't know. I don't know. I think I probably read more. Like I'll find more time maybe during the day to read if I'm really enjoying a book. I know I've had a real struggle the last couple of weeks because I talked about this in a recent video. I just got my prescription renewed on my glasses because I realized I was way overdue. And this is a really strong prescription compared to what I was having before. And I needed it because I was having a lot of problems like neck strain and vertigo and things like that. And I don't have those issues anymore. So I think the glasses are helping in that regard. But I have noticed that it's slowed down my reading pace, like adjusting maybe to the glasses. So they've been a big adjustment. They've been a big, big adjustment. And apparently it's supposed to take weeks for my eyes to adjust. So I've noticed that that's impaired me. So I don't know. So various things can impair, I think, how much I read, and time, and the amount of time I have in the day, what other things are going on. If I'm doing other hobbies, I've been playing a video game with my husband lately, so I've been taking up some of my reading time with that. So it just depends.
And is it headaches, or are you getting like eye strain, or I wondered if ebooks or paperbacks would maybe help with that transition?
Yeah. And by the way, Conan is great, by the way, for a reading slump, because they're very short and they're amazing. So I haven't gotten headaches, but I was noticing that like my vision was just not good. Like it was very blurry all the time. And as far as, it's weird because I do have problems with my neck that are unrelated, I think, to my eyes, because I had a car accident a few years ago. And so every now and then I'll like accidentally like move my head or something too fast or something, or I'll sleep in a weird position and I'll get a neck strain, just like a minor soft tissue tear. And so I'll have like a stiff neck for a few days. It's awful. And I noticed, accompanied with that, unfortunately, I've gotten some mild dizziness. So I know it's weird, but the two seem to go together. But what was interesting is that when I went to the optometrist last time, they did realize that my stigmatism has grown, and that my eyes were working way too hard at a short distance. And so what they did was they gave me these like Prisma lens things or something. And apparently one of the things that they are clinically studied to help improve is neck strain. And the second thing there's clinically studied to improve is dizziness. And I was having both of those symptoms before getting these new lenses. And that was really weird because I got the new lenses and I haven't had any issues. So that's really interesting. But at the same time, like I said, they still have been an adjustment for my eyes to adjust to. So I think my eyes are really focusing a lot harder than they need to. And I've noticed my reading slow down, and it's a little harder for me to read in long intervals lately. But I do read. I have been reading on my iPad, which I know is probably not best for your eyes either. But I do notice that I do like using my iPad for right now, because I don't want to pay $200 for an e-reader right now. And the nice thing about reading with the Kindle app is you can make the font a lot bigger. And that helps me a lot personally right now. Sorry, that's a long one.
It's okay.
Yeah. I wondered if the next strain is because you were unintentionally or just not noticing that you adjust your head position.
Totally. Yeah. It could be. I could be like moving my head out of line for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that could be it. Well, and the other thing too is I was noticing with the dizziness too. The dizziness, I was noticing that like sometimes it would happen in the middle of the night. I'd even have my eyes closed, and I'd always notice my eyes twitching, and then suddenly I get a little bit of like dizziness, and just a little bit, and then it calmed down. And so I was noticing it was connected to my eyes. And your eye muscles, by the way, are connected to neck muscles. I don't know if a lot of people know that. So it's all interconnected. Our bodies are so interconnected.
Yeah. As someone else who's blind as a bat and has astigmatism, I feel you. Like I can't, whenever I get an upgrade on my glasses, I'm like, oh, it's a whole new world. I can look at that beautiful sign that I can see, every single time. So
yeah. And that's the other thing with reading speed is if I try to read fast, I try to move my eyes fast, it just tires me out too. So I don't know I don't know how to speed read. Like I really don't know how to do it. I just have to accept I'm a slow reader for that reason.
I can speed read, but I have no idea what I read.
when you do that,
I can do it with nonfiction. I can do it in nonfiction for some reason. Like I guess I can get the basic concepts pretty fast, like an article or something. Yeah. But not with a story. It's different.
Yeah. The book that recently gave me that speed read feeling for the first time in a long time was Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So I recently read that, and I hadn't felt those binge feelings in a long time, to the point where I was like, I need the audiobook because I can't physically read right now and I need to continue the story. So I actually ended up doing like both versions of reading that book, but that was a speed read for me.
Yeah.
I would just blow through that one, but I think it reads quicker. I'm not sure if it's because I've been reading a lot of more dense adult fantasy, and Daughter of the Moon Goddess is more YA based. I think it's a YA, right?
I think it's officially adult, but the author has said that it has like some that it can be read by both
I just
audiences.
don't see how that's considered adult. I read that and I was like, what? This is so YA to me. But
yeah, but it read real quick
for
me. So I loved it. So.
Cool.
Oh, it's interesting you say that, because I read The Archer's Thread by Noel Zamat. It's like a thriller, like a science fiction thriller, and I blew through it because there was no world to set up. I knew what the world was. It's our world. So all of that extra stuff was gone. It was like watching a movie. It was so fast. It surprised me how fast I went through that one.
So yeah, that's interesting. I just put out a video yesterday about, if you're able, do you visualize what you read? I think is what I called that video. So
I just watched it.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So I have learned a lot since posting that video. I just realized, like, after posting the video, I realized, wow, I have a lot to learn about this subject. There's a lot more here than I realized. But I didn't realize, because I did that video because I've always been somebody who visualizes what I read. And that was something really cool, by the way, about Daughter of the Moon Goddess, is that there are just some beautiful descriptions of settings in that book. I did appreciate that a lot, about the writing style. And I didn't know until recently that a lot of people don't visualize what they read. It was a new concept to me. And apparently there's something called a fantasia, where people really literally can't. Like, it's a condition where they just can't visualize what they read. So you were mentioning that it was like a movie to read this book, Steve. So do you visualize what you read?
I do, yeah. I try to. That's why when in fantasy, especially when the clothing or the appearance of people aren't described, it's almost like a blank canvas for me. Like, I need a little bit of a description, what they're wearing or armor or something. Just give me something. Otherwise, it's hard for me to visualize what they look like if I don't know. Or of course I fill in the blanks, but it's always nice to have a little bit. So that's something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely visualize as well. Yeah, I've heard that there are people that can't, but I can't. That concept is so foreign to me because I always have seen it in my head.
Yeah.
So.
I can't.
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, and I've been thinking maybe I have the aphantasia, I think they call it. I don't know. If people tell me now to visualize an apple, I can think about it, and I can. It's like at the corner of my mind, but I can't really see it. But I don't know how other people see that. So maybe you also see it like that. But if you really vividly see an apple, I can't.
Yeah.
And so while I'm reading, maybe that's also why I read a little bit quicker. How they look, I don't really care. Like, I can't tell you at the end of a book if they have blonde hair or dark hair or what they've been wearing. I can't really picture that in my head. In the end, when I finish the book and when I'm thinking about it and I'm really actively trying, I can do it, but not while I'm reading. Maybe if I would do that, I would read a lot slower, probably.
It's interesting because it does slow me. I think it does slow me down a little bit when I'm reading and visualizing. But I do know people who can read very fast and still visualize. Like my mother. My mother can read super fast, and she is very, very visual. Even with audiobooks, she reads physically and listens to audiobooks separately. But she is able to visualize anything.
And Derry had a comment: being emotionally tired doesn't help. As adults, we have far more demands on our emotional bank balance, and you need that to read. Sorry.
Yeah.
Reading is an active hobby. I don't think we really think of it that way because we're so used to it. But it's actively doing something rather than passively taking something in. So when people say, I don't feel like I can read today, I'm going to watch a movie, that's a very different activity. You know, there's a reason why we feel capable of one and not the other at certain times. So I think, you know, extending to yourself the grace to not be able to do that active hobby at the moment, you know,
I love that.
we'll take breaks from the gym, right? Because that's physically active. So sometimes you just need to take a mental break, you know?
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I don't think we really are very gentle with ourselves in that regard. And that's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. Just like not going to the gym because you're sore or you're just not feeling it. It's the same thing with other activities too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Hannah would like to know what we're reading right now. So what is everyone reading?
Oh, too many things. I'm Assassin's Quest.
Yes.
I am reading for the first Law trilogy. It's too far up there for me to get it right now. So Jolene's like, I think 40% into the Blade itself at the moment. So I'm reading that. I'm reading 2 Spiffbo books right now. So I'll keep those under wraps at the moment. But I'm reading 2 Spiffbo books. Audio last night, I just finished The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, which was a really beautiful audiobook. I'm going to write a review for that hopefully today. And then my new audiobook that I'm starting today, which I'm so hyped for, is Speaking Bones by Ken Liu. And I'm just, it's going to wreck me. It's going to wreck me. But I'm ready.
Oh my gosh. I want to read that series so badly.
Please do. I'm going to scream about it, you know, to everyone who will listen.
And I did see on your TBR video about the darkness in between the stars. Is that what it's called?
The Stars and the Blackness Between Them.
Yeah.
It's a long title.
Yeah. I've heard of that book before though. It looks like a really good book.
It is. It's beautifully written. Well, it's a bit of a spoiler for the review, but beautifully written, and you know, it's a very touching story. The only thing is one of the characters is from Trinidad, and I have a friend who is actually from that culture, and she said that the representation is not good.
Oh, no.
In that book. So the author, I believe, is American. Don't quote me on that, but not from Trinidad. Maybe family members are. And so my friend said it reads as what someone might romanticize Trinidad to be. And that the language used is word salad. Like it's what someone might think someone from Trinidad sounds like. So knowing that is definitely hampering, you know, my enjoyment of the story in that sense. But the skill of the author and the story that was told was beautiful. And the descriptions, very poetic and lyrical. So I don't want to, you know, say that the author doesn't have skill. They clearly do. So I think balancing those two things is interesting in my head right now, but definitely worth the time, you know.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. What about you, Steve? What are you reading?
This book has been on my shelf for a while, and I just decided to pick it up. So I'm reading Negative Space by B.R. Yeager, and this book is creeping me out.
In a good way?
Yeah, it's good. It's just it's different. I've been reading that, and My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I've been listening to A Drowned Kingdom. I'm almost done with that one.
Oh wow! Yay! That's
what are you thinking of? Oh, sorry, John. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I was just responding.
Yeah. What do you think of My Heart is a Chainsaw? Because I read that before. What are you thinking of that so far?
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
That sums up some of my feelings towards it.
I'm not too high on it actually. I think it's I don't want to spoil anything, but the focus of the book is about a part of culture, like a pop culture, something. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but I'm not too big on the certain type of movie that the book focuses on, and just not really feeling it. It's okay, but not my favorite.
I feel like it's written for a very specific audience, and who it's written for is going to love it. But I'm also not part of that group. So when I read it, like when it deep dives into that specific topic, I don't get it. So I felt the same.
It's kind of like showing up to like a fan club meeting and you're not in the fan club and you're like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
That's a good way to put that. Yeah.
What about you, Jolien? What are you reading again?
So, I've been reading for the last 3 weeks Memories of Ice by Stephen Erickson, and then also Cashil's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey. I'm really loving both of them, but progress has been slow. And then I think 2 days ago I started Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which is an original fairy tale. It's a new one. It's a dark fairy tale, but I feel like it goes a little bit back and forth. Sometimes there are like funny bits, and then all of a sudden it turns super dark for one chapter, and then it goes back to being more lighthearted and fun. So I don't really know if I think that it's intentional and it works in a way, but it's also a little bit weird. But so far I'm really enjoying it. So
I saw Elliot Brooks talk about that book. She was gushing about that recently. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that once you finish.
I've actually read another book by her, The Raven and the Reindeer, which is a Snow Queen retelling, and I loved that one. That was a 5-star read, like easy 5-star read. And now I have I think it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling by her that I also have on my shelf that I want to read next. This was the first original fairy tale that I've read by her that wasn't a retelling, and I just think that she has a very digestible writing style. It really reads like a fairy tale. Like often you have fairy tale retellings, and I love those, but sometimes it loses that type of atmosphere, and here it's still very much present.
Okay.
What about you? What's your current read besides Assassin's Quest?
I'm reading Assassin's Quest, and that's taking primary reading time for me right now, but I'm also listening to the audiobook very slowly. It's taking me forever, and I feel bad because I keep going through days of not reading it or listening to it. Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. So it's one that Mike from Mike's Book Reviews has talked about. I know Sarah from Sarah Reads loves it. Baron from Your Brain on Books loves it. Everybody who's read this book loves it, and it's really good. It's a historical fiction that takes place in 1964, and it's like that nostalgia of being able to ride your bike until it got dark and nobody cared. What kids don't have today, the luxury kids don't have today. It's sort of like all the cliches of, the dad who says, back in my day, we used to walk 10 miles in the snow and that kind of thing. But it's really clever, and it's all in first person from this boy. And even though it's this boy's life and it's a coming of age story, it's very dark and twisted too. And and there's some really interesting themes because you see how he's making meaning out of some weird, strange events that are happening from his perspective as a young boy. And I've heard, I haven't finished it yet, but I've heard that the ending makes people cry. So I guess I'll see what's in store for that book. But the audiobook is fantastic. Really enjoying it when I do take the time to listen to it. I go through mood reading when it comes. I'm very much a mood reader when it comes to audiobooks, more so than I am with physical books. So sometimes I'm really in an audiobook mood and I will just go on and listen and listen and listen. And then sometimes, like lately, I don't know why, I'm just like, I just don't feel like listening very often. But then when I do, I really enjoy it. So it's just taking me forever.
Yeah. For me, audiobooks are, usually I go through them quicker than a physical book, even though I think my reading speed is a little faster than the audio speed that I listen to, but you can just do so much more. Again, it's more passive than active, right? So I tend to go through audiobooks quicker. I also, when I ride my bike to work, I usually ride like not where there's a lot of people or cars, so I can just zone in on the audiobook as well, which is nice. But for me, I also need to balance that with music. So music is something that I really enjoy. And I find that if I get too into, I need to finish this audiobook, I will prioritize that over music when I would probably enjoy that more. I actually kind of went into that deeper in a video I did last year. Oh my God, last year at this point, later last year, talking about, does booktube culture cause burnout?
Oh,
We
I
touched
love that video. Yes, that was a
Thank
great
you.
video. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you some questions about that too, because
Yeah,
in
have
that
at it. I'm
video,
here.
yeah, because you were in that video, I noticed you did that a year ago, right? So your channel was quite a bit.
Yeah,
So,
about a year.
so I'm going to guess your channel. You just hit the 1K milestone. So congratulations, by the way. Very happy for that.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah, fantastic and well deserved. And I've been really curious to ask you though, do you feel like your perspective on any of those things might have shifted a bit as you've become a bigger channel? And this is something I'd love to hear from Steve and Jolien too, because I know one of the points you made in that video was about creating for yourself, to make sure that you're doing the videos you want to do rather than just kind of following the algorithm, which is really important advice, I think, for anybody. And at the same time, I do wonder, I still, if as channels grow bigger, and especially because I know for you, Steve, your channel is now monetized, and I think same for Jolien, and I don't know if that factors into this or not. If you feel like start to feel any sort of responsibility to your audience as you get bigger, or if you just have any different perspectives of that, since you have gotten more feedback and more viewers and more subscribers.
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting question. I think, first I want to say hi, Lana, out loud. Hi,
Team Dark Knights.
Gotta throw that out there. We've at any chance we get. But I think for me, it hasn't changed my perspective per se, but it does add an extra level of worry as to whether engagement will decrease. Whereas before, I don't think I was concerned about that. So, for example, my booktube bartender series, which I love making, and I also have a Japanese folklore, mythology, and a yokai series, which I haven't done an installment in a couple months, just because those are very time intensive and take a lot of research in both English and Japanese. So I haven't put that out. But I do think that there is a worry in the back of my mind that if I put something like that out, the engagement might decrease. And that's something I think I'm going to do it anyway. But I do think that there is an extra worry that wasn't there before I got bigger. And I also recently put out my most recent video is a vlog. And that was the first video I put out after I reached 1K. So I was like, okay, so if all of these people have just joined for book content, and then I'm like, here's a life vlog, here's something you didn't sign up for. I was a little concerned about that. But, I think one thing to keep in mind is we do this in our head, but when the vlog came out, lots of people really gave me positive feedback on it. So our worries aren't necessarily reality, but I do think there's an extra layer back there. So it's a really good question.
Yeah. What about you and Steve and Jolien?
Jolien, what do you think?
I think that for me, it hasn't really changed because I was like that from the start. I'm somebody who's very caught up with numbers and I'm quite competitive, but I'm my own competitor almost. I like to see how I've been doing, and I always want to make progress. So I always compare myself to what I've been doing last week, and that's not only booktube, it's a little bit with everything in life. So I try to let go of that. And I was actually very surprised. I saw a conversation with Jimmy and Alan a while back, and they were both talking about that, and they said once I start looking at numbers, that's when it stops being fun for me.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun for me, looking at the numbers. But that also means that it has a lot of power over you. When it's not doing that well, it's not that fun. And then when it is doing well, it's a lot of fun. But sometimes you just need to let that go as well, I think. But it's difficult if you like statistics.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quickly, I just want to say, as far as Derry's comment, I've totally avoided the audiobooks of the first of the trilogy because I've been told that. But at the same time, I've heard other people say they are good. I don't know. I am avoiding those though. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
That's a really interesting question. I've been thinking about this too. It's funny. It's funny you ask because I've been giving this some thought. Um, I think it's funny because it's funny you mentioned Jimmy because when I was on Chatting with Nuts, again, thanks Jimmy for inviting me. But we after we went off, I kind of talked to him and picked his brain a little bit on content, and he just told me like just have fun, just do what you want to do, and just make good stuff, but just have fun with it. And now I've kind of gotten to the point where before I was worried, I was more concerned about numbers and who's kind of like what kind of content it's going to be, and I didn't worry too much because I do a lot of indie stuff. But I think now it's just kind of I make what I'm excited about, and when people stop watching, then I'll take my ball and go home. So hopefully people keep watching. A big part of it though is just the friends I make, like doing things like this or the Avengers or all the buddy reads we have, and so that's really what I enjoy doing, and hopefully people enjoy it. But that's kind of like my thing. So if that means that I don't have as many subs as someone else, then that's cool. I'm just going to do my thing and because I'm not going to make content that I'm not excited about. I'm going to make content that stuff about what I want to discuss and do and have fun with, not just for numbers' sake. So
Yeah.
I think people can feel if you care as well. They can tell if you're making content you care about or content that you don't. I think, putting out something that you're not sure someone's going to like, that I think is a bit nerve-wracking, but yeah. I can't make myself make content I don't care about. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I don't think I've never really done that, because the amount of we can all talk about the amount of time it takes to plan, to film, to edit, to upload. It's just, if it's not content that you care about, that's a lot. That's a big ask, to do that.
Jolien and I talk about this sometimes about, like YouTube, there's like some channels on YouTube, like that help kind of like tips with the channel, like algorithms and things like that. But I think there's things that I really enjoy doing, but nobody really watched. So I stopped doing it because I'm not going to spend the time on it if nobody really cares. So even though I enjoyed it, I'll try something else or do something different. But at the same time, so you want to be smart with the content you make and when you release it and things like that, but still do what you're excited about. So, but just be a little bit smarter about it, I guess, is the thing, is spread things out a little bit better, or know which days or people that watch your channel tend to watch, or what times a day or things like that. So there's a line between being smart and doing things still to be successful versus taking it too seriously and driving yourself crazy, because you can drive yourself crazy if you look at the algorithm, the analytics.
Oh yeah, that's such a good
thing.
Well, and I like that idea too of not taking yourself too seriously, because this shouldn't have to be such a weighty hobby.
Right. It's important to remember it is a hobby. I'm really glad you used that word, because I think it's important for everyone to remember. For the majority of BookTube, it's a hobby, right? Most people are not going to be able to make a career out of this. So
true.
Also, I know the comment just disappeared, but I'm glad I'm not alone on Assassin's Quest. Or in general, just the feeling of Robin Hobb. I'm glad I'm not in a void with that.
Yeah, and you're not, definitely not. And as far as your vlogs are concerned, I think that's been an interesting thing to me. Is one thing I know that I started doing kind of like a mid-month check-in thing, and I know that Jolien, you're doing a weekly check-in thing, and you've been adding in some things happening in your life. And I've really enjoyed that content personally. And I love that you do that too, Steve. You always add in what's happening in your life and your updates. And so, Taylor, as far as your vlogs are concerned, I think that's kind of something, it's interesting because when I did my mid-month check-in, I added in a few they were so small. They were just like about my glasses and about playing Mario with my husband and getting Mario music stuck in my head when I read. And they were just stupid little details that I think in the past, I would have edited those out. I would have been like, I would have gone into the editing of that video and been like, nobody's going to care about this. I'm taking it out. I would have done that. I would have done that in the past. And I don't know, that was actually one of my first videos where I intentionally just left in that kind of content. And I was shocked, like how many people were like laughing about the Mario music or saying stuff about the glasses or, that kind of thing. And I was like, people like this stuff. And I like this stuff. Like, I love hearing about creators' life and what's going on with them and what they're up to. And, you live in Japan and that's like super cool. So I think like learning about those little life details, the more that we get to know, I've noticed that actually seems, not saying to do it to be more successful as a booktuber or to get the numbers going, but if you want to do it and it's fun for you, I think that actually people seem really responsive to it. It's kind of been an observation of mine.
No, I agree. Especially, and if it's mixed in with other things, people will comment on those personal things rather than the book things. When I see the comments, So that's a good point too, to look at what people are engaging with in the video.
Yeah.
Not just how many people watch it, but what are people saying about it? That's really good feedback. Like, I always thought my vlogs had too much food, but all the comments are like, more food, please. So I'm like, okay.
I love seeing that.
the food. Yeah. I mean, Hayato and I are foodies, so too much of our life revolves around it, to be honest, but it's good to know, to get that feedback.
Yeah. It's really interesting. But yeah, I was starting to notice that. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of reserved. Sometimes I'm shy about it. And then I thought, but wait a minute, the channels I watch a lot, they tend to be a little more open about things. And I guess that also comes with being more comfortable the more you do it too.
Yeah, definitely.
There was actually a tip on one of the channels that I share a lot on the forum. Is one of the channels said to include things like that because people want to connect with you and feel like they get to know you, not just about a specific topic, but just, and then like the Mario music being stuck in your head, it becomes like an inside joke, and people feel like they like they connect with you in that level. So it's something that people respond to.
Yeah, it was really funny. They were like saying, "Oh wow, so now we know Mario music doesn't go well with varsity." It was making me laugh too. And then as far as like creative content too, because you were mentioning that in the video, that just I think that's part of it too, is that a lot of us want to feel creative in what we make, and we might have creative ideas, and a lot of times algorithms are about doing the standard run-of-the-mill kind of videos, that kind of thing. But I personally, I know as a viewer, I love creative content. So like your video, for example, like booktube burnout, like, oh, I love that kind of stuff. I love like topic videos. I just instantly click on those. And I think that's important, just to, honor that creative part of yourself.
Yeah. I think those types of videos take more time to make as well. They take more planning and stuff. So that's another factor. Oh, Andrew, what whiskey did I drink today? So just for context for people who are watching this, I have a whiskey and books group. Okay. So
nice.
This comment has context, but Andrew is part of that group. And I have not had whiskey yet today, considering it is 7:58 a.m. But last night, I'll stay away from political things. But the news that broke last night, I was not going to imbibe last night. But then I decided I need to pour me something. So I had rare breed, wild turkey rare breed last night. Cask strength. So.
Ooh,
I don't know anything about whiskey, but that sounds good.
Cask strength essentially means like they don't water it down. So you got to be careful with it. It'll hit you like a train. It's a very high alcohol content. So that's what I had last night.
Got it.
I don't know what you were referring to, Lana, but thank you.
Yeah.
And Isaiah had a comment about, I don't visualize by default, but I can turn it on usually for big set pieces, which is fuzzy at best. What really sticks out for me are impressions, tone, and atmosphere.
Yeah. There seems to be a big spectrum. So that was a video, by the way. Do you visualize what you read? That video? That's kind of like a book topic video. And I posted that because I just have been fascinated by that topic. And I really didn't expect it to go anywhere. I didn't think many people would watch it, and I was kind of shocked. Honestly,
it's on my watch later. I added it immediately when I saw it.
Oh, cool! Thanks. Yeah, but I've been like, whoa. I mean, there were a ton of comments and views on that, which is, I'm very flattered. I also feel like, wow, I have a lot to learn because I didn't know, honestly. I didn't know about a Fantasia. So I feel like I almost need to do a response video on people's comments on that, which was really interesting though. Because yeah, there seems to be a spectrum. Some people can visualize vividly, and then some people they really can't. And some people they can a little bit, and then the adaptation piece plays a role for some people too. So, but yeah, I was really surprised. Yeah, thank you, AP. I'm so glad that he watched it because I did get a lot of inspiration from his video too for that. Yay, we're so happy for you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
want to say while I'm on here, well, there's a lot of this. I want to say thank you, Steve, for having me on this channel so frequently because I do get an increase in subscribers often after being on here, which is basically the only reason I'm here. But
I think you're giving me too much credit there, Taylor. It's you make some great stuff, and it was inevitable you're going to be
Yeah,
Oh,
for
I
sure.
appreciate
upward and
that.
onward.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Mhm.
I'm super excited. I am going to be doing a live like ask me anything kind of thing at some point. So date to be determined, probably next week. So
Will whiskey be involved?
That would be
it
fun.
can be. It absolutely can be. The interesting thing is my main readership is on EST, like Eastern Standard Time, or like the opposite time of Japan. So if I want people to be able to imbibe with me or have a more party feel to it at night, then I have to get up early and do that. So it has to be a day that I can do that because
Yeah.
it's flipped. So I just have to pick the right timing.
Yeah.
So, next week.
But I like what Steve was saying. I think you put on Twitter about how like you felt like it was kind of when Taylor got to 1K, it was kind of like a win for everybody, because I feel like it sort of feels that way. Like we all can just feel excited for you, and everybody can feel excited for everybody kind of getting to the milestones, and that's really beautiful about this community.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Like we're not each other's competition. Like when we all go up together.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a really good feeling.
It's like, where else does that happen on YouTube? I don't know that really happens very often, but it's beautiful that it happens here.
Yeah.
Like when Jolien was close to 1,000, I was sitting there with like hitting the refresh button, just like waiting for that.
Come on.
I was like, come on, one more.
Yeah. And then you said congratulations, and I thought like within a minute somebody is going to unsubscribe and it's going to be like 999.
999. Yeah.
That's always scary.
Always drops down.
Yeah.
I can't make content I don't care about too. If it doesn't excite me, I physically can't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way.
I like the personal things that you're happy to share being included. It makes the viewer and creator relationship feel closer to a friendship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's also when you talk about those things is important. So if you're putting a review out that you think people that aren't subscribed to your channel are going to be watching because people just want to know what the book is about, that's, in my opinion, not the time to be like, so yesterday, so it depends on when you put that mix in there as well, because in my opinion, the people who want to hear that are, people in the community and your subscribers who follow your life. So I think balancing that, what video to put it in is also important.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's also why I like having those weekly updates, because even though the amount of views is a little bit lower, the engagement is much higher just because it's the people who come back every week. So those are actually the most fun videos to make just because I know who's going to comment on them. And it's fun to look forward to that.
That's great.
Yes,
that's always
exactly.
Wonderful. Yeah, I know when I started my channel, yay, thank you, AP. I know when I started my channel, I tried really hard to focus more, or I think I did focus more on just the comments than the views and like what people were saying in the comments. And I don't know, and somebody mentioned that recently about how they're more interested in the comments than how many subscribers they have or whatever. Not to say they don't care about that part, but I think that the quality of comments in your comment section does tell you something about how people are engaging with what you're putting out. And I don't know, I think that kind of adds to the community aspect too of what we're doing too.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was actually the last Friday conversation, maybe, Steve, where we talked about this, but someone was asking what the advice was. Like, if I want to start a booktube channel, what's your advice? And one of my main points was make sure you take time to sit down and just enjoy and engage with your comments, because that will, if anything is going to inspire you to continue to make content, it's going to be that level of engagement.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of how I ended up getting it into making a channel, sort of, because I've always left, like before I started a channel, I always left the longest comments. And then I get so excited if people would comment back.
Thank you, Lana, by the way. I just want to say
kind of joking that I got that. I got that from my mother, because my mother, she sends me text messages sometimes on my videos, and they're like these long, amazing, like long text messages.
Yeah.
She watched the discussion with Janny Words, and man, she just had so many wonderful things to say about Janny Words. So that was really fun just to hear her thoughts.
Has she read the book that you were reading, To Hell's Chasm, as well?
No, she hasn't read. Well, no, she hasn't read the book, but I did actually send her the first few pages, because my mom is very well read. She has a degree in English, and so I love to hear her thoughts on prose, because she has a lot of insights and she's very eloquent. And so I did scan the first few pages of To Ride Hell's Chasm and I emailed them to her, and I asked her for her thoughts on the prose. And she had so many insights about the prose. It was so cool just hearing her thoughts on it. She loved it. But yeah, it was so funny. It was like almost like a professional review or something. My mom could be a booktuber. I wish I could get my mom on booktube more, but
Alicia had a comment. If you want another booktuber's take on not visualizing while they are reading, check out Julie from Pages and Pens.
I checked out her video today. Yes, my friend Ola sent me her video on a Fantasia, if I'm saying that word right, and her perspective on that as both a reader and a writer. And it was absolutely illuminating. It was absolutely illuminating. A dinosaur game.
And I am intrigued. I need to know more.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder.
I've been I started playing years late, but Horizon Zero Dawn, and I started playing the game, and that reminds me of dinosaurs, because there's like machines that kind of shape like dinosaurs at points in that game, and I was enjoying myself. But then my husband Hayato was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." He's almost done with the game. Okay. And I'm
Classic.
still in the first like 10% of the game. Now I know the story, because he plays it while I'm in the room. I am upset. Yes, Lana, exactly.
My husband was into the game Elden Ring, the one that everybody plays.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, because I think on Jimmy's live chat, he was talking about it, and people were saying, I mentioned in the live chat that my husband was playing it, and everybody's like, oh, expect him to be screaming, and you're going to get a lot of stressful. He's going to be stressed out. And it's so funny, because my husband is the most calm person ever. So he's playing the game, and I just watch him like deep breathing.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I don't know, it's so funny. But I could tell it was stressing him out. Like he was just doing all this like relaxation techniques and stuff.
It's a super similar story in this regard for Horizon Zero Dawn. I was interested in Elden Ring, got it, and then realized I'm not a good enough video game player for this game. Like this game is too hard for me. It's just So then Hayato took over, and he's been angry. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, my husband is amazing at video games. I can't. I'm terrible. We're playing Mario 2 right now. No, Super Mario World from the Super Nintendo, whatever that is. I suck so badly. He's so good, and I'm just so bad.
It's that also connects again to the last Friday conversation we talked about normalizing being okay at not being good at something.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
but enjoying it anyway. Like that's video games for me. I'm not good at them, but I like them. So
Yeah.
just have to
Yeah.
accept that.
Yeah. I'll never be as good as my husband, but it's kind of funny because it's more him pep talking me all the times. He's like, "You're doing well.
You can
Don't
do
feel good." Yeah.
Jolien, do you have time to play video games? You have a lot going on.
I just started one, which is probably not the best decision that I've ever made, but I started Path of Exile mainly because it's for free. So I like the RPG games like Baldur's Gate or Diablo, something like that. And I was looking on YouTube games like Diablo, and they said Path of Exile, and it was for free. So I thought, why not give it a try? But I am saving up for a gaming PC because now I'm using my husband's, but he's a big gamer as well. So I need to see when he leaves, I quickly come and like play for half an hour. So it's going up and down, but for now, I think that I will have some time to play this weekend. But it's difficult because when you start playing a video game, you want to at least like play every couple of days and not wait a week and get out of it, especially because I'm not the best at these types of things. So I need to train myself. So I hope that I can get my gaming PC quite quickly, but there's a problem with chips and all of that stuff, so it will take a while.
Yeah. So how is your husband also a fantasy reader?
Oh, no. he doesn't read at all.
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
He likes that I buy books because he says that he likes how they look in the living room, but he doesn't read.
Oh.
We love that kind of support. I don't think I've heard the words, I love that you buy books. I don't think I've heard that.
No.
Ever.
My husband's like, you need to get rid of more books. I'm already like the biggest book minimalist, I feel like, on booktube. My husband's like, you need to get rid of more books.
Well, he has told me recently that now it's enough because he keeps adding like more shelves when I ask him, but the walls are just completely filled. So I need to either stop or find a different room and continue the collection there.
Oh.
I wonder if do you all get more excited when you play online gaming or when you play by yourself? Does it make a difference? Do you get more worked up when you are playing an online game with other people and they're beating you, or does it make any difference?
I don't do online because I know I'm going to lose. So I'm too competitive for that. I'm like, So it's a good question, but I've never really jumped into the online world.
I don't really do online gaming.
Yeah. What about you, Steve? Do you?
Well, I just had this reminded me of a story that I used to, way back, I used to live with my cousin, and we would play Counter-Strike a lot. And we would talk a bunch of trash. Nothing crazy, but we would, just having fun. And there was one person who we were going back and forth with one day, and we were kind of, exchanging insults or whatever. Coming to find out this person lived here in where I live, and he's like, hey, if you want to meet up and go like have a beer and hang out. I thought this guy's gonna like, who knows what, he's gonna probably beat me in person because of the trash talk. Anyway, it turns out that we ended up being really good friends, and we met his wife and his family, and we ended up being friends for a long time. So just a little.
Oh, it has a happy ending. That's nice.
Yeah. So, and we got a good laugh about it because we were talking trash, but it was all good fun. And then they brought their computers over, and we had a big party and playing Counter-Strike, which is really really geeky, but that's what we did. So
you're talking to people who make booktube content, like you're good.
I need to know my audience. Yeah.
Also, Roller Coaster Tycoon. That brings me back to when I had dial-up, playing that game.
You're old enough to remember dial-up? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Getting yelled at, I need to use the phone. Oh my God, yes. Remember that. Absolutely. That sound, I'll never forget it.
Those are the days. Yeah. And AP is really what my wife is playing, and I'm offering totally helpful advice.
I'd like to get her perspective on that.
I know. I love that.
Backseat playing, that's what I call that, instead of backseat driving.
We have another book minimalist here, Jerry. I took my physical book count to 13.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Same timing. Look at that.
Speaking of unhauling books, how do you all, if you want to unhaul books, what do you do with them?
I
Goodwill.
still don't know. I just
Yeah.
unhauled a bunch of them, but I can't sell them because they're in English and they're fantasy, so the market is pretty small. I try to give them to like I don't know how to say this in English, but old people homes.
Mhm.
But they were like, well, they don't speak English, so we don't want them.
Why
So now-
do we want these, right?
Yeah.
Same exact problem here. I don't know what to do with them. The market is like non-existent. I did have a really good experience where a viewer of mine reached out and asked if I wanted to trade. So the viewer actually is an English speaker in Japan. So reached out and we did like a trade. I gave them the Poppy War and then they gave me this is I can reach this one. Look at that. A Conspiracy of Truths. I've never heard of this before, but it was pretty. So I said, all right, why don't we just do a trade? Very excited to have this to try at some point. But that was a positive outcome.
That's nice.
But
yeah.
other than that, selling, not even an option. You know, I just have to try to find someone who will take it.
Yeah.
Take them.
Exactly.
Do you think it's okay to unhaul books? How do you all feel about unhauling books that were gifted to you?
I keep them.
Yeah, that's a hard one. If you do, if it is unhauled, I would never put that in a video, I don't think.
No.
you
Oh,
know?
Yeah, no, I would
But,
never do that.
like,
Too.
I've seen people do that, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Somebody did that to a book I gifted.
wow.
They didn't like it,
Sorry.
and they unhauled it on a video. And I thought they didn't mention that I gifted it to them, but
Yeah.
which was fine. I wasn't offended at all, but I just but it did make me think. I don't think I want to give people books anymore unless I know they're going to enjoy them.
Yeah.
It made me feel. I did feel sad that if they felt pressured to read it or continue it or whatever, if they didn't like it, but I'm sure that happens.
Yeah, if a book is gifted, I'll keep it just because of that connection that it was gifted to me. So I'll still keep it.
Yeah. I feel too guilty. I honestly feel too guilty. I haven't done it yet. I might someday, but I just feel too guilty right now.
Yeah, it's a tough one. What about you, Johanna? Do you ever unhaul books, and when you do, what do you do with them?
So yes, I unhaul books. When I moved into this house last year, and so I got rid of more books. I still have a few books I might get rid of on my shelf. And Goodwill. We just give everything to Goodwill. I guess I have a donation. There is a donation area in my library too, so you can always do that too. But it's usually Goodwill.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I don't know.
Eric
It's kind of Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, Eric just asks if they figured out how to put a bookshelf on a ceiling yet.
Would be nice.
Yeah.
Really would be, you know.
I'm sorry, Taylor. Go ahead.
What was I gonna say? Hold on. So not being able to unhaul has its frustrations, but I think I also talked about this in like my book buying habits video where I said like it makes me more conscious of what I buy. It really makes me think a lot before I purchase something. So when I did an unhaul, it was very small because I find the amount of books I buy has decreased, but the expensiveness of each book has increased.
Yeah.
So I won't buy just a random physical version of a book. I'll get it, via ebook or audiobook first. But if a special edition of a book comes out, I'm not just take my money, so it's really kind of balancing out money-wise, I think, but the quantity has very much decreased because I don't like having excess stuff. So I only want stuff that I want to keep, really. So it's had a big effect on how I shop.
Yeah, for sure.
I tried that.
Yeah, tried.
The beginning of this year, at first I was like, I'm going to be on a book buying ban. And then I changed it up a little bit. That by the end of this year, I I counted the amount of unread books that I had at the start of this year, and at the end of this year, it needs to be like at least 5 lower. I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I like buying books too much, but
I
I
don't.
do feel that I've been smarter. I haven't bought like entire trilogies before reading the first one, and the ones that I
Mm.
have bought, I know that I'm going to like. So at least there's that. But
Yeah, I don't like buying books, honestly.
Mm.
Because I don't like spending money and I'm cheap. But if I do, and then if I do buy books, I do want the nicer editions. So I'm kind of hard to please that way.
Mm.
And I know like when I got that Janie Wertz book, I got that at the ICFA conference in Florida, and I got a really good deal on it. And but it was funny because I was there with Alan and Philip, and Alan is just picking out like tons and tons of books, and I know Philip showed me around like, look at all these books. There are tons and tons of books, and I was like, I want that one. It was
Mm.
just one book, and that was fortunate. But yeah, I don't know. And I know a lot of people, they love new books and that kind of thing, but I love the library too. I
Mhm.
haven't used it as much lately though. I used to use it a lot more, but it would make me very excited, even with new releases. If I got a new book from the library and it was a new release, it'd be in good condition, it'd be a hardback, and I could appreciate it and look at it and enjoy it and read it and then give it back and be like, okay, I had my experience with it and I'm good. And I don't know. I know that's so weird.
No, that's true.
No, I think
I
it's.
think what it was I'd also feel like I'm enjoying the experience of this brand new book without paying any money for it. And so there was part of me that
Mhm.
would feel like I'm winning. I get to read this and I'm enjoying this and I'm putting this in my house for a while and I'm not paying anything. I don't know. There was something
Mhm.
so gratifying about that for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
libraries are great. Before I moved, I made sure I had my American library card, signed up for Libby and everything. That has been an absolute lifesaver. Like, I don't know what I would do without Libby.
Libby's the
Um,
best. Libby's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So that and that and Scribd have allowed me to have the buying habits that I do have because I can kind of, experience the book and then see if I want to have it for my shelves. So yeah, I think I say I've been better at buying things, but there are things I've sent to the States. So shipping is insane to Japan. So unless it's universal international shipping, I'm very lucky that my parents are like, yeah, we'll put it in your book closet, for later.
Yeah.
So when I do visit the States, I'm going to be faced with 2.5 years of shopping and sending it there. But
Yeah. Are you living in Japan like on a 6-month sort of thing, or is it?
no. I moved here 5.5 years ago now. So I've been here for
Wow.
a while. But my husband, Hayato and I, we have a dream of opening a Japanese restaurant in the States in the future. So he's a chef. So the type of restaurant we want to open, it will be successful here, but the market is oversaturated for the type of food that we want to sell in Japan. But in the States, the type of food we want to sell has not become, it's a new market. So it would make a lot more sense to open in the States.
Yeah.
So we plan at some point to do that. We were planning to move before the panini.
Yeah.
So that just pushed absolutely everything back. So I have no idea timing of anything anymore. But there may be a move to the States in the future. The States seems to be losing its mind right now. But
I love Japan. I did get to visit before things happened, and it was just one of the best experiences ever. And my husband's been a couple of times. He loves Japanese culture and everything. He told me that tourism is shut down in Japan because of that, or it has been for a while, and it's still.
Oh yeah, it's very strict. They have just started to open up a little bit, which I don't know the thought process behind this, but they've opened up for small groups of people. but individual travel is not allowed. So maybe if you're affiliated with a company, it's easier to track where people go. You know, if you have an itinerary or something like that. Whereas if you let in just individual tourists, you can't really track where they are. So they're starting to open up a little bit, but they will allow re-entry. So they'll allow someone who lives here to leave and come back.
Right.
But people actually coming in on a tourist visa, they're not having that yet. They're real slow at opening up.
That makes me kind of emotional because I'm so grateful now that I had that experience a few years ago because it was just incredible. One of the best experiences ever. Hope to experience it again.
It's a great place to travel for sure. Like people say it's safe, and it really is safe to travel here. Like my American self lost my mind when I first moved here because people will go to Starbucks. They will leave their wallet and their laptop, their MacBook on the table to save their space when they go to the bathroom. And I was like, that's all. I could steal your entire identity in 2 seconds with what you've left out in the open, and no one will ever touch it. If you lose your wallet, you're going to get that back. Like, you're going to get it back and the money's going to be in it still.
I think I saw that. Where in Japan are you? Are you in?
I'm in Fukuoka.
Fukuoka. Okay.
Yeah, but it's very, the two things that are not safe in Fukuoka is your umbrella and your bicycle.
Oh, yeah.
If it's rainy and someone forgets their umbrella, they're taking your umbrella.
Oh, wow.
Or someone might take your bicycle, but your wallet and all of your technology, it's safe. You're
okay.
fine.
Cool.
So,
wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
And Derry had a question. Was the book given to you with no more than it's a book, you'll like it? Or was it something you really wanted at the time and the gift of someone paying attention?
The second. I have an Amazon wish list. And I know, well, it's kind of a long story, but I know one book was kind of gifted to me sort of by mistake. And then another book I liked, but maybe didn't love. And so I'm not sure if I want to keep it on my shelf or not. But Amazon wish list. I have an Amazon wish list, and I've been like on the fence about posting it in my description. It's in some of my older descriptions. Because I'm just like, I don't know if I want people gifting me books or not, because I appreciate it and then I feel guilty. So, I don't know. I'll probably put it back eventually, but
I think it's good to have it there, you know, if someone should choose.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm just trying to be really careful about what I put on my Amazon wish list because just because I feel so bad if I am gifted a book that I don't love. Like that just makes me feel so bad.
And to Alicia's comment here, if I can't resell them, I donate them to school libraries in the area. I think I'm going to start doing that. And I also thought about having like a giveaway on the channel for all the books I want to know. If you win, then I'll send them to you or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to.
It was so fun. One time I used to work at an art high school for a couple of years, and one time I just had a bunch of paperback books that I had read. They were kind of vintage books, sort of at that point, I think. And so I just brought a bunch of them that I had either already read or I wasn't going to read or whatever. And I brought them to all these teenagers and they just went crazy. They loved it. They all took all the books and it was so much fun. I just had the best feeling. It was the greatest feeling because you could see people excited to take the books that you didn't want anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we'll have to go visit Jolien and go out to invade over there. Go meet Jolien.
There's not a lot going on here, but if you ever want to come and visit, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I know that Jose is coming in August, but I don't know. Well, he's visiting friends, so at least there's that. But country-wise, there's not a lot going on here.
Oh.
You know, that's completely underrated. The fact that nothing's going on is actually kind of nice.
True. Yeah.
You know. So unfortunately, guys, I gotta go for work. So, it's a rainy day, so I think it's gonna take a bit longer than usual to get there. So, but as always, what a wonderful way to start my weekend. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for hanging
It's been
out.
great.
Just to plug, this weekend I am going to be hosting Page Chewing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for trusting me with the title. Steve. So I'm graced with being able to be a host for Page Twoing. So that episode will be coming out, or will go live on Sunday night EST. So Monday morning JST. So yeah, looking forward to that. But have a great day, everyone.
Have a great
Be
day.
careful.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Bye, Taylor.
Thanks.
Congrats again.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
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 It's great stuff, huh? And Libby is something that I wondered why there's not more videos about Libby, because I didn't know about it until recently.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I found. Well, I know my library just recently got access to Libby like a year or two ago. It was using some older system before that, but it is fantastic because you can download books through Kindle through Libby. So you can read ebooks that way, and then audiobooks, obviously. It's the best thing ever. Although I'm the worst with it because I'm constantly putting holds on books, and then they come in, and then I'm not ready to read them. So I use the deliver later function over and over and over again. Terrible.
I am very jealous that you two have that. Because here, well, I had a friend who used to live in the US because her husband was doing his PhD there, and I got to use her Libby account. But then she moved back here and she changed her address, so now she doesn't have access anymore to Libby. So I've lost my account. But yeah, those were the good days.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know you had a wish list, Derry. Okay, good to know. Yeah. Yeah, I have a wish list too, and I'm just like, I think I'm gonna put it back, but I don't know. I'm always on the fence.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that too.
You can always put it there, and people can still choose if they want
That's
to
true.
do something.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And yeah, of course, it's always a choice, no matter what.
Yeah, Jolien. I've used your wish list a few times. Yeah, it's
I
great
know.
because as someone who like to do things like that, it's cool just because I wondered like what do you have? I don't want to buy books that you already have, so it's nice to have that to say, okay, this is what someone wants, and I can send this to them. I know they don't have it; they're not going to have duplicates. So it's nice in that sense. When you're going to do something like for a birthday or something, it's nice to, or Christmas or whatever. And by the way, speaking of birthdays, Jolien, your birthday was this week, so
Happy birthday, Jolien!
Thank you.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
28.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh,
So I'm still like a baby when it comes to my birthday. I celebrated the entire week. It's
Yeah.
the thing that I start looking forward to like 5
Happy
months in
birthday
advance.
month. Yes.
Yes.
It's your birthday month. Come on.
Yeah, I tried to introduce the bird week, but my husband wouldn't have it. I was like, every day we go out and we eat something and we just have a drink and it's going to be fun. But he said that it was over the top.
Really?
Yeah. My husband is so not really into celebrating that much. He's
Same.
yeah. I'm like, what are we gonna do for your birthday? He's like, we're going on a trip. We're spending lots of money. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, same. I'm like more excited because once I have a gift for him, I want to give it. And then he's like,
Yeah.
but it's not my birthday yet. I'm like, I don't care, just open it up. So,
Yeah.
and the other way around, like a month before my birthday, I'm like looking through the house if I can find my gift. So we're like exact opposites.
You're very, very impatient. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny. I remember when you started your channel too, you were talking about how when I make a video, I just want to post it right then.
I'm still that way.
Just post it now.
Yeah, and it's something that I realized, I think maybe almost a year after I started, that you have to, you best wait until the HD version is completely uploaded. I didn't do that. Like once it was done, I sent it into the world. So now at least I can wait that long.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know anything. I'm barely figuring out the HD thing too. I'm so not tech savvy at all.
Same.
There are still so many questions I have about like, how does YouTube work? But I just try to best I can, I guess. I'm learning still. So.
Oh, definitely. And does monetization matter to either of you? Do you care about that at all? About
really,
the content, like we talked about earlier about the content, and do you track that the monetization numbers?
I don't.
Either of you?
Yeah, I don't. I just saw that I have to like fill in tax stuff, and I don't have to pay taxes yet because I'm a PhD student. So I don't even know if I want to continue with it because I don't want to. I don't know how to do it because I'm in Belgium and YouTube and US. So it's maybe it's even too much hassle for me to go through with it, to be honest.
Hmm.
So
I don't
I
know.
don't really care.
Yeah, I guess I need to talk to you too sometime because I actually am not monetized. I don't really know how to do that. So I don't know if I am eligible to do that or not, but I don't know. I don't know anything.
Well, it's really not much. I mean, I think it's, I don't know, a few, like 70
Yeah,
cents for, yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
difficult. I could manage it, so I think that everybody can.
Got it. Yeah. It's so funny when I started my channel, my husband, it's funny because my husband, I'm sorry if I'm talking about him too much,
No,
but
of course not.
it's funny because he doesn't watch any of my videos. And if he does, he's if he does, he yawns because it's just not his thing. He doesn't really like listening to people talk on and on about fantasy books. And yet at the same time, he's super supportive. So like the second we meet somebody, he's like, she has a booktube channel. So
Really?
That's so
he's
sweet.
super loving and supportive of the channel, but he doesn't really watch my videos. But at the same time, he jokes. He's like, "Oh, he's like, we're gonna live off your salary." I'm like, "No, you don't get it. It's not like that."
And it's actually funny that so with the two of you, everybody knows that you have a channel.
I'm sorry.
You mean
Everybody, yeah,
like
like
friends
people
and
in
family?
your in real life know that you have a channel.
Sort of, only because of him. I have not told any of my colleagues. I don't want my colleagues to know. That's just kind of embarrassing. And I don't. Yeah. So nobody really work related or anything like that. But some friends, not a lot. Actually, no, hardly anybody knows. Mostly close friends and family, and mostly because of him. Otherwise, there are some close friends I have that I haven't even told. So,
Mhm.
because I feel awkward about it. I don't know why. But
Same.
my
Yeah.
family knows now and they don't care. So, I've gotten over that.
Yeah. Really nobody in my, well, my family didn't know. And then my kids told told my dad and my mom and some other people. So
The kids.
they spilled the beans. So they found out about it. But no, I work. I don't. The word has gotten out that I have a podcast, and I've been asked a few times about that. But I was like, I don't answer the questions. So
Yeah.
I don't really want to. I don't want to. The worlds will collide. I don't want to do that.
I
Yeah.
almost revealed it one time because I have a Facebook friend. I put out the question on Facebook. I said, I asked what people thought about the Dune movie soundtrack because I was curious. I was hoping that some music friends would answer. I didn't really get those responses though. But then a friend of mine ended up answering with his podcast. I guess he has a fantasy podcast of some sort. And so he said, "Yes, I loved it. Here's my podcast." And so I almost responded with my video discussion with Philip and Mike and Sarah, but I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." But I did listen to his podcast. That was kind of interesting.
What about you, Yulene? Does your work friends or your other friends know?
My husband is the only one who knows. So
Yeah.
when we bought like new lights, I told everybody that it was because he has a new hobby with photography. So now he needs to sound smart when we talk about that, just because it feels a little bit weird at first, and now it feels even weirder if I need to say like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for over a year and I haven't told you yet. So it's just never going to happen. And then one of my colleagues at work, she saw me with my e-reader and she asked what I was reading. And it was a fantasy book, but I thought like nobody reads fantasy around me, so it's going to be fine. And she knew it, and she was like, "Oh yeah," and I watch videos on YouTube, and I'm now very stressed that she's someday just going to find my channel. But then I think like, okay, she's probably looking at all of the bigger channels. It's not going to be me, or at least I hope so. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still dreading going into work and her telling me that she saw one of my videos.
Isn't
Yeah.
that funny? Isn't that funny how we're okay with strangers on the internet, but we're not okay with people we see
Isn't
every day?
that weird? That is
That's
so
very weird.
weird. And it's so funny too, because I used to say all the time that and this was of course many years ago now, but I used to say that I would not consider somebody, I would never consider somebody a friend who I met online until I met them face to face. I used to say that. And I totally have a different perception of connection and friendship than I did those many years ago. And yeah, it's so different now.
I wonder if just the technology changed your perspective on that.
Oh,
Because we can,
yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, honestly, lockdown did too.
Yeah.
Lockdown definitely changed what I considered meaningful connection. I think when I was younger, I thought I had to have like my life story known to the person in order to feel like a close friend, that kind of thing. And I don't feel that way necessarily anymore. I feel like you can have a meaningful connection, even just telling somebody, "Hi, how are you?" I mean, I know that sounds superficial, but I feel like that can actually be really meaningful to people sometimes, and that can go a long way. You can actually change somebody's day just by showing that you have some sort of care or concern about them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think even just saying hello or just asking how they're doing or something, just even in passing, can make a difference for someone.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And of course, there could be different circles of friends, like people that you are a little bit more open about with personal things and that kind of thing, and people that maybe you're less personal about. But that still doesn't devalue the meaning of those. Like even what I used to consider small interactions, I used to think that those were insignificant. And I totally changed my perception of that, I think, because of lockdown. I think that really did make me realize a lot of different things about just how far those little, what I considered small connections were.
It changed so much, didn't it, that period of time?
Yeah, it really did.
Chris mentioned, I have a few students that found my content and would walk into class, playing it on their phones, or quote lyrics that I've written in emails.
Wow. I mean, I know Alan's students, they all know he has a channel.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my worst nightmare.
And Brandy, from the other room, I told my physical therapist about Steve's channel just because she was a reader, and we always talked about books during my sessions.
Yeah.
And we actually, Brandy actually gifted her a copy of 11/22/63 because they talked about it, so she took her a copy of it.
I love that book.
Yeah.
Really good book.
Yay.
I still need to read it.
It's wonderful.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Everyone knows I have a channel. Oh, that's wonderful.
It's really
Yay.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. Yeah. They found my tribe that I can be excited with books with. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really special for me personally, because I know when I was younger, I always wanted to talk about books. I always wanted to talk about books and reading, but none of my friends and family ever talked about what they were reading, even though they were reading. And so I thought, am I uncool to talk about books? So I never did, but I always wanted to. And so it was really special to find a community where we could talk about that. And I feel the same way. I feel like it's like, there is a feeling of that. I moved in the middle of lockdown. Most of my friends that I'm friends with now are through YouTube or reading groups. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's great that that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Alicia says, I haven't filmed my first video yet and I'm nervous. And just go for it. It's scary at first.
Completely normal. Yeah.
It's very normal to be nervous at first. Yeah. And hey, y'all, listen up. So I know you got to meet John in person, and I just missed that opportunity. I missed an opportunity to do so. I did have the opportunity, and I had to pass because my husband and I had just come back in town and were exhausted when he was passing through. But I know you got to meet John, and so and John just went around on tour, meeting lots and lots of booktubers. So have you met any other booktubers, Steve, in person?
I think just John. I think that's the only one I've met. I hope to meet all of you eventually. But
yeah, that would be fantastic.
I know we had talked a little bit about meeting in our little group, like Stacy and Ashley and Jolien. We had talked about going to Vegas some eventually, or meeting somewhere, where it's like easy to get. But I'm not sure if well, maybe one day we can figure or we can go visit Jolien in Belgium. Go check it out.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
I think it would be more exciting if I go to the US, so you can show me around a little bit. But
go to the ICFA conference. I know Alan can't go next year, but Yeah, that was really fun. That was really, really cool to meet those people in person.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was feeling FOMO pretty bad when I was watching those
Yeah,
videos.
same.
Looks like such a good time.
It was. It was so fun. I just wish it could have lasted longer. It just felt so short too.
Yeah. And to meet that group, I mean, that's such an amazing group of people. That's so cool.
I know. Yeah.
I
It felt
remember when that picture came online, and I think that 50% of people were thinking that it was Photoshop. Which is
Oh,
actually
really?
real. Yeah,
Oh man, it wasn't
that can be
Photoshop.
real.
It wasn't photoshopped. Yeah, that was really cool. I just felt it was a little. It was. It was sad for me because I felt like I was coming in later than everybody else because I guess Alan had come over the night before and met everybody. I met Alan a couple nights before, but everyone, Jimmy was already at the conference, EP and Philip and everybody were already at the conference. So they already had time together. So I just kind of came in and met everybody all at once, with the exception of Alan.
That's a lot.
And I just felt a little starstruck with Steven Erickson.
Yeah,
It's a little embarrassing. I wish I just felt kind of bad because I just thought later on, I thought he probably thinks I'm dumb because I just couldn't like think of what to say. And there were so many things I feel like I could have asked him or talked about because that series had such a big impact on me.
Mhm.
And so to sit next to him at breakfast was really cool.
How cool is
I
that?
can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I usually don't get starstruck. Just doesn't. But when I met some authors at StokerCon, it was like it's weird to see them, and even though I've talked to them online, it was still strange to see them in person. So I was a little starstruck with some
Yeah.
of them.
He was so nice too. Such a sweet, nice person. And everyone else, it felt very natural. It felt very easy and natural to be around everyone. I just felt a little bit like, oh my God, Steven Erickson, which is so nerdy. It's so nerdy. Oh man.
I
That's so
I
cool.
would be the exact same. But it's a big group to meet at once.
It was, yeah. But it was so amazing. I do hope to go again in the future.
I did think that was photoshopped at first because there was just so many people at one time. I was like,
Yeah,
that's a pretty good
that's too
Photoshop.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lighting looks really good and everything. I thought, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that did
Saw
kind
the
of
video.
work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
And Derry had a comment. We all think our first videos are awful. Are we all in agreement that the first few videos are awful? Or
Oh yeah, well mine are bad. I thought about darkening a lot of mine, and I just like, no, don't do it. But I do want to sometimes. I sometimes want to go back and like unlist a bunch of my videos. The thing is, it's like I look back at my old videos and I'm so cheesy, and I'm like, and it's bad, but at the same time, I'm like, but I said some good things too, and I still stand by some of the things I said. I don't know. I get conflicted about it all the time.
Yeah, I have some reviews early on, and I sometimes still like put them in the cards, and then I remember how they looked. And I
Yeah.
think like, no, maybe I should just remove them because it's a little bit awkward to watch back and to just see that. Well, it's also a good sign, right? That
Yeah.
we look back and think I have improved a lot. So I imagine that if you look back to content of just a year ago, each time you will think, I hope that you've improved a little bit.
Yeah.
But the first 20 videos were extremely awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, same. But I love what you said because you mentioned that in a recent video. You're like, I cringed, but I hope I continue to cringe because that means I'm improving. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing is that I know I'm going to continue to cringe. I'm cringing at videos I did a week or two ago, and like I think that's also why I'm trying to force myself not to enlist videos, even though I want to, and maybe I will someday. I won't say I won't, but at the same time, I'm such a perfectionist that it's almost like an exercise in me not reacting to my perfectionism, like letting the bad stuff stay there, and just being okay with whatever, whatever, that's where I was. But it also makes me envious of like this class of 2022, because some of these people who are starting channels, they're already starting with like such high quality video footage and sound quality and backgrounds and everything. Yeah. how do you do that? How are you already so natural? It's not fair.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to give me tips on how I
Yeah,
need to do this because it
I
looks
would
so good.
totally. Class of 2022, I am not ashamed if you want to give me some tips. You have any
Exactly.
advice on my background or sound quality or lighting or whatever, I'll take it. I really am open to that.
Yeah. There's some new channels that are just like, wow.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. I mean, they're just so. It looks easy. I don't know if it is, and there's I don't know if they struggle or they have to edit or what, but it just looks so seamless.
I'm so jealous. I'm so
Yeah, me
jealous.
too.
Jealous of everyone. Yeah. I mean, I just did a shout out video and I'm like, I'm jealous of everybody I just shouted out.
There's so many great channels out there.
There are. And they're so nice too.
Yeah.
Nice people.
Yeah, they're killing it. Reddy says, I love that even though I don't have a channel, I made so many great friends through Steve's channel. Everyone is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so cool, like just how many people are coming into this platform who are very young and so well read and articulate themselves so well and obviously are way better at technology than I am. So I thought Photoshop, it was
Yes.
I'll put out his little video. Yeah, well, and then the cosplay pony ride with AP, you all know that was a real photo, right? That wasn't photoshopped at all. It's in his Best of Dreams video thumbnail right
now. Chris says Mike's book reviews is massive to many of us. He had to mention he only got recognized for the first time a few weeks ago.
Okay.
He got recognized? Wait, what?
He only got recognized for the in person, I think.
Yeah, in real life.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. These people that we see as like so. Oh my gosh, you have like 70,000 subscribers or whatever. That is pretty surprising.
Yeah. And
you're welcome. Thank you for starting the channel.
Shout outs make so much of a difference.
Well, I love shouting out other booktubers. I feel like I'm really good at it. I do. I feel like that's one of my strengths. I feel like one of my strengths in life is to build people up. I think that's what I do well as a teacher too. I'm good at building up people. So I feel like I'm even better at doing that with people than I am with books, but it's fun. I like it. And I appreciate, I don't know. It's something that people have been very generous to me with my channel when I started. And so I'm very happy to help out other channels too. Aw, thank you, Gary. Dang, that's so sweet.
Your channel's fairy godmother. Joe, this Wheel of Time hot takes. Yeah, Jolien has a good hot takes video on Wheel of Time too.
I haven't read any of them.
Well, I wouldn't recommend them, but
I just
but a lot of people love them. So,
as I said to Mike, I will never say never, but they just don't call to me, and I think I'm a little traumatized, honestly, after seeing Brittany from Books with Brittany read through that series.
She was reading that one and Malazan back and forth, right?
Yeah. That's the thing is like if you're sort of an empathetic person and you become friends with somebody on BookTube and then you see them like struggling through something, you just feel it too. Or if you see them excited about something, you feel it too. So it just can be kind of a thing.
Yeah, of course.
And speaking of Malazan and the length, I want to thank you, Johanna, for the suggestion to have a midway point.
Yay!
So we're gonna start doing that. Yeah.
I hope it's helpful. I hope it's helpful. Yeah, I think it could be, especially because there's so much to take in, especially with even with the prologues. Like you could have a lot to say with the prologue. I know, AP's here and he has whole videos on the prologues for each of the books. But I think there could be a lot to say just at the midway point, and I hope that's helpful. Let me know how that goes. I will join you for the second discussion because I'm a little scared of spoiling anything. It's been a while. I will say with House of Chains, I'm really excited to join that discussion though, because I know that a lot of people do Malazan ranking lists and they always put House of Chains at the bottom. And I always want to like defend the book. I always want to just get defensive about the book because I honestly think that what Stephen Erickson does, he makes some very different choices in that book. And I personally really appreciated what he did. I think it's masterful what he did.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely masterful. I can't really talk about it until you two finish it, but there's a lot to say about what he did. I think it's beautiful. I think it's incredible.
So
Plus, you
this
get to
house,
meet one of my favorite characters in the series in that book too. So,
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Which Malazan book is your favorite?
I don't really have one. I know that's a cop-out answer. It's no longer just fluff. Nothing to see there. Nope. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I know it's a cop-out answer to say none of them, but I mean all of them, or I can't rank them. But really, I've really tried to think about that, and it's really hard for me. The easiest thing I could say is that the end of the series, The Crippled God, and the way it ended, it I am still riding an emotional wave from that because I really was satisfied with the way it came together for me personally. Not to say that I felt like it was perfectly tied up in a bow or anything like that, but it satisfied me. But as far as like ranking the books, the thing is, each book is so unique and different. And I think you can already see that from the first three books. And I think anytime you get into a pattern of trying to, and I feel like I learned a lot from AP, honestly, about this, but anytime you try to force a book to be something you want it to be instead of accepting a book for what it is, then it's like life. If we want like life to be other than it is right now, instead of really being open to what it is right now, we can miss something. There can be something beautiful and amazing to experience the moment as it is if you're able to. And I know that's not always easy to do, easier said than done sometimes. But it's like that with the books. If you're able to open to each book as its own unique story and its own unique sort of exploration of themes, it's truly incredible what he does. And so I like that. I like that each book has a unique structure and sort of plays on different storylines and works with different characters and different ways of looking at questions and themes and things like that. So it's just hard for me. I could tell you what I loved about each book, but they're all different.
How are you enjoying Memories of Ice, Jolien?
well, it's interesting. I'm still really enjoying it, but when I told people that I was starting Memories of Ice, a lot of them told me that it was the easiest one to get through of the entire series, and I actually had the most difficulty so far. And maybe that's because with Gardens of the Moon, I thought this is going to be very difficult, and I went into it expecting like something extremely dense. And while reading it, I was actually relieved, like, oh, this is not too bad. I know what's going on, like sorta. And then Death House Gates, there were just some characters that I was immediately invested in, and I think that maybe that's the most character-driven part of Malazan that I've read so far. So it was easier to just take in all of the knowledge. And now that Memories of Ice, I feel like it's a lot of information about the world, and
Yes.
I need to really like keep focused and try to remember it and almost study it, just because I forget a lot of it. And then we get to a certain name and I need to think like what was happening there exactly, and just remember all of the gods and all of that stuff. So I feel like this is the most difficult part that I've come through in
Yeah.
my very short Malazan journey so far.
I feel like there's a lot of history and lore in Memories of Ice, particularly. I had that experience too, honestly. I felt like just my personal experience was that I don't remember having any huge struggle with Gardens of the Moon. I wouldn't consider it like an easy read or anything, but I don't remember it being that hard to read through. I just enjoyed my experience. I thought I enjoyed the difference of it. And then Dead House Gates was very different. And then Memories of Ice, it did feel like, whoa, there's a lot of information to take in as a first time reader.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I love that book because I was going through a lot personally when I read that book. I was going through a really bad injury that left me in a lot of pain constantly when I read that book. So I don't know if that also impacted my experience, honestly, but I found the book incredibly cathartic based on what I was going through emotionally, physically at the time. And honestly, even though there was a lot of detail to take in, I did feel like it was a lot of detail, a lot to take in. So I totally validate your experience with that. at the same time, I felt like some of the emotional things that happened in that book really, I mean, I know they're going to hit differently for everyone, but they really hit me pretty strongly. I remember feeling as though almost like the feeling you get when you leave a theater and it's the middle of the day and you're in a dark theater for a dark movie, and then you come out of a theater and it's like, whoa, it's either it's you're stunned that there's daylight, or you're stunned that it's suddenly nighttime. That's how I felt coming out of Memories of sorry, so the third book, Memories of Ice. Yeah,
Yes.
Memories of Ice. That's how I felt coming out of it. I was like, what did I just come out of? It was just it was like a total change in my state of consciousness. And I agree with what JR was saying earlier about the Dark Tower. I think that that's actually kind of a good comparison in some ways, because that's how a lot of people who love the Dark Tower, and I haven't finished the series, but a lot of people who've read the Dark Tower, they'll say the same thing, that every single book is very different and unique. And a lot of people, they get frustrated when, for example, the fourth book, you have a whole backstory and it diverts in structure. But if you can be open to it and be like, okay, this is something different, then it kind of depends on your relationship with that. But I know easier said than done. But yeah, I think it can, in some ways, be helpful to watch sometimes. I don't think I watched any non-spoiler reviews for any of the books, but I know AP and Philip have done non-spoiler reviews for each of the books on Philip's channel. So that might be helpful to watch before each book, just to have a sense of, okay, this is what I'm going into, to have context. Because I know that helped me, for example, with the Dark Tower book 4, Wizard and Glass. I know a lot of people who read that book for the first time did not like it. They fought with the story and the structure. Honestly, I watched Philip's spoiler-free review on Wizard and Glass before I read the book, and that maybe helped me, because it kind of helped me get some context before going in. Okay, I can adjust my expectations, as this is going to be slightly different than previous books. And I think that helps to, expectation, man, that makes a big difference in your reading experience.
Definitely. Dory says, when you read a book is relevant to your experience as the text itself. Yeah.
Timing and expectation, those two things make such a big difference. Yeah, if I had read Memories of Ice at a different time in my life, it would have probably been a different book, honestly. But I was going through a lot of heavy stuff at the time, and that particular book really seemed to match me, which is interesting, because at that time in my life, I read a lot of books that did not work for me. I went through one of the hardest times reading-wise during that time in my life, but for whatever reason, that book really hit the right notes at that time.
Interesting. Yeah. Dory also mentions managing the expectations is why I talk so broadly about each section of ROTE. It makes a difference.
I really think that's helpful. I know a lot of people, and myself included, have been saying, oh, I like to go into books as blind as possible. And there could be merit in that, because you're going in without expectations. And I always say that I feel like I was at a service going into Malazan Book of the Fallen, the first 3 books, before there was very much content at all on BookTube, especially for the first 2 books. There was almost nothing. But I kind of have a different thought about that now. I kind of think if you go in with somebody like Derry, who really, really, like Derry really gets the heart of the realm of the Elderlings and the heart of this world. If you go to somebody who really gets the heart of something and can explain the spoiler-free aspects of it, of what you're going into, I think that can be incredibly helpful for setting your mindset or adjusting your mindset to being open to the story in the right way. Just like Philip's Wizard and Glass review really helped me open my mind up to that book and have a great experience with it. And so I think that Derry's Realm of the Elderlings videos, by the way, are incredible for that.
Yes.
And I think Philip and AP, I know that Philip has said that not a lot of people view his videos that are spoiler-free, but they are spoiler-free on his channel, and they might be really helpful for getting some of the larger framework and themes to just keep in mind when you're going into the story.
That's a good point.
exactly.
And Jolien, I know it's late for you, and don't want to keep you up too late.
Yeah.
Just get it early in the morning for you. But I want to thank you both of you for coming by. Like I said, it's an open door policy, so whenever you want to join, it's just let me know.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
to you two again.
Yeah, anytime,
Yeah,
any Friday.
it's always great. So thank you for having us and to just arrange all of this, because we just have to like click a link and be here. We don't have to do anything.
It's pretty cool.
So I have to make it as easy as possible for people to talk to me. So I want to just like make it as hassle-free as possible. So hopefully everyone will show up. But cool, everyone. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Thanks everyone in the chat for coming by and chatting with us. It really makes a huge difference for whenever you come by and just post questions or ideas or tell us how to get it out of reading slumps, or if you're going to start a new channel, always want to shout that out, or offer advice of however we can. I don't know, but it's always great to connect with everyone. So hope everyone has a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Bye.